Hello, everyone. I'm happy to host you today for our next webinar session, which covers the topic of BIM in the context of manufacturers. Today's event will be a bit special because usually we are talking about the BIM, but today we will cover a very specific part of the BIM process, of the BIM content process, and I'm referring to the information in particular. During this presentation, we will cover the topic related with where the information should be hosted, why this information should be hosted in this and not the other way around, how we could utilize this information inside the BIM content, inside the BIM files. And at the very end, we will present you a demo example of how we're actually transferring the data from the external system hosting the information, which I'm referring to PIM, of course, and directly to the BIM content. During our today's session, we have two guests that will cover this topic. First guest is Mr. Głaszewski, Dariusz Głaszewski, who is representing Darek is representing Akinio PIM, one of the most popular open source PIM vendors on the market. The other guest is Adam Konca. He's representing the BIMStreamer part, and his specialty covers the IT part of the BIM. Hello, guys.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hello.
Okay, in the first part of the webinar, we will cover the topic of the information itself, where we should store it, how we should efficiently manage it, how we should distribute it, and how we should adapt the content to specific regions, to specific users, to specific destination channels. We will cover the topics of channels all around this webinar. So please consider the channel as a place where the information should be sent to. So, Darek, the stage is yours. Please explain us what is the PIM.
Thank you very much for this introduction, and hello everyone again. Okay, so it's going to be a very quick overview of what PIM is. PIM, which stands for Product Information Management. Let me take you to my first slide. So what the high-level view of a PIM is basically, let's have a look at a case, at a situation that many organizations are actually facing, which is we already have our product information, but usually we have it spread across various locations, meaning we've got it in our ERP, we've got it in our e-commerce platform, we've got it on some media servers, we've got it in some email messages, we've got it in some files. Usually those different locations also mean different formats of data. So at a small scale, it's relatively manageable, but once you hit a certain scale, then it's totally unmanageable in such ways. So the first and foremost goal of any PIM and Akinio PIM as well is to help you centralize all this data so that in one location, one system, you have all this data under control. You can see where it is, you can see in context of which products this data is stored, and you've got it there. Then the next thing, of course, is the data itself. Akinio PIM and any PIM is basically not a database. It's based on a database, but it's primarily, and it should be primarily, a collaboration platform, and that's what Akinio PIM is, to make sure that all different stakeholders, both within our organization but also outside of our organizations, these stakeholders can contribute to enriching the content about our products, to making sure that the content is complete. This completion may mean, for example, translation. So in other words, preparing the content for various locations, various geographies. And this preparation for various channels, various needs, various destinations, we can generally call it contextualization. So a PIM should also help you contextualize this data make sure that the data is curated for the exact purposes of the channel you want to send it to. Not an easy task, especially not an easy task if you don't have a PIM. But even if you have a PIM, it's a process to learn how to do it properly. And actually, today's webinar and today's demo will be very much about the actual contextualization of the data, which is in the PIM, and will be sent to a BIMStreamer for the creation of BIM models. So who is it for? Who is this tool for? As I said before, it's primarily a business tool. It's for people to collaborate. So it's addressing not only the needs of technical centralization of some data, but primarily the needs for people to be able to monitor this data, to enrich this data, to do it in an efficient manner, to be able to speed their processes up in terms of what they want, in terms of, for example, introducing new products to your catalog. So supply teams, sales teams, content teams, all of them are business teams, as I said here. They all have different roles to play in the whole life cycle of product information. Of course, for IT teams, it's also a tool in the sense that it supports them in terms of simplifying the workflows that you have in the organization. So it is centralizing the processes. It is allowing a larger number of people to work directly in the tool designed for it, instead of, for example, a need for giving access to ERP system, which is usually very, very sensitive. A special team that is often treated as a number one contributor to product information is, of course, the marketing team. And for them, it's important to have a tool which is easy to use, easy to incorporate various contributors into the process, as I said, both from inside the organization and outside. So if you have a photo studio, if you have a search engine optimization agency that is helping you with the content for your e-commerce channel, if you have a printing agency with which you are exchanging data, these are various stakeholders that may need specially curated information. So the whole reason why a PIM should be introduced in an organization which is facing those challenges is to unlock the growth. But of course, growth understood not solely as growth in numbers and like let's sell more, let's have more products. Of course, these are very important business challenges. But in a more and more competitive world, more means also better in terms of quality, better quality of data, more granular information, more attributes, addressing various needs of various recipients of this information. Sometimes it needs to be very technical. Sometimes it needs to be very emotional. It has to be a good picture, a good video. So all those barriers to growth needs to be addressed by a practice, not only by a tool, but by a practice which we refer to as product experience management, a practice in which a PIM is a tool for making sure that people can collaborate within it, and to create, and to by centralizing the data, by being able to collaborate on the data, they are able to contextualize the data for the various purposes of their business. And this PXM, product experience management, we like to see it as a journey. So just centralizing the data, which is a challenge in itself, of course, for many organizations, is not an end game. It's actually a beginning of a journey towards becoming a product experience management champion, meaning an organization that is able to relatively easily contextualize the data by inviting various stakeholders into the process of enrichment, by connecting various systems and solutions, work towards catering the information, curating the information for specific needs of various channels. That's a very brief overview of what PIM is, what a Akinio PIM is, as a collaboration platform for people to work on product information. Over to you, Marcin.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you for this load of information that we need to process. I have, though, one additional question for the clarification, because you mentioned that the PIM itself should be an easy tool. It should be a tool which can be used by the SEO agencies, by the marketing team. I know that within the organization, in addition to PIM, there are several other systems that process the product information. Name it, like you mentioned already, ERP. Usually, ERP is considered as a heavy tool, which should be used rather for the internal purposes. There is also a PDM, which in most cases, like so the product data management. And this type of systems are also usually used by the technical staff, used in the R&D process. How does that refer to PIM, which you said should be a simple solution, should be possible to be operated through not only the internal but also external marketing agencies or the SEO experts? How you compare, let's say, the PIM with the ERP or with the PDM?
Okay, so the answer to this question would take probably longer than the whole time for the webinar. Just to answer it very briefly, I would say in whichever organization whatever organization we're looking at, we need to first identify the actual needs, the ecosystem that we already have, the processes that we already have, the architecture of the content that we already have, and what needs to be done with this content. Once we know it, we should be able to identify what kind of solutions should be implemented in a specific organization and what are the business purposes for that solution. And typically, ERP is a business tool from a more financial perspective, usually very closely connected with warehouse management solutions. On the other end, you may have some e-commerce platform, very typical scenario, where you have a tool which is designed for selling your products on the internet. And in between those tools, those systems, you want to put a solution that will allow you to take some data, some source data, for example, from ERP, or even feed back some data to it if it's our process. Then make sure that in this platform, which is strictly designed for collaboration, which, let's be honest, is not a characteristic of ERP systems. They're not basically designed for collaboration. Yes? There are usually some restricted number of users who have very, very specific rights, and this is usually very, very sensitively treated solution. Whereas a PIM solution is supposed to be much more open in terms of how easy it is to work in it, how easy it is to perform certain actions, how flexible it is. Flexibility, again, may not necessarily be the most the clearest characteristic of ERP solutions as well, right? So a PIM is to be flexible both in terms of the content creation and in terms of the process creation. So who does what with what, and in terms of the connections to external systems. So it allows the flexibility at the same time supporting both the quality and the efficiency of those processes.
I think that you actually answered my next questions, but maybe I will still ask them anyway. So in regards to the PIM, you mentioned that this is a central location for the product information, yeah, that can be used across different channels. You mentioned about this PXM experience and about this contextualization to specific needs of specific recipients. So how does that difference from a database?
Well, basically, from a technical perspective, it is based on a database. But as I said, it's a business tool. So the main difference is to make sure that it's a tool for people to use. And as I said, both the people within our organization who have some time to get used to a tool and learn how to use it, but also for some stakeholders from outside of our organization. So the tool needs to be very user-friendly. It has to be very intuitive in terms of its user face, but also very flexible, as I said before. So I would say the main difference is it's a collaboration platform, not just a way of storing data, but it's a way of working on this data that is stored in there.
Okay.
Stored or referred to, because not all data needs to be stored directly in the PIM. PIM is more like a hub for some of the data. Some assets, for example, like I don't know, videos or images or documentation for that matter, they may be stored outside, technically, physically stored outside of the PIM, but still be very, very closely related to products within the PIM through clear references.
Links. So what does that give us? If we have the data spread across the other systems, why we need the PIM for?
Imagine you don't have it. Imagine you don't have it, okay? So imagine you're in a scenario where you have all this data spread around, and you don't have this central location where you actually can monitor it, where you actually can connect it, interconnect it, and perform a variety of actions with the data. Imagine that you don't have it. Then I guess that would be the answer.
I guess so. We have a first question from Gert. Can PIM have logic to drive fit ERP?
If I understand it correctly, probably you mean can PIM be also feeding data to ERP, right? So is this how you understand it as well? If so, yes. I mean, okay, thank you. So absolutely yes. There is no one way of using your systems. The way you use the systems should reflect the best, as best as possible, the needs of your business. So this means also that the tools that you're using need to be very flexible, right? So if in your process it makes sense that, for example, your supply team, a purchase team, they first build some proposals for products for your catalog, they onboard those products from your suppliers, and then a subset of these products become actually your products that you want to input into your ERP, this first stage of onboarding can be actually done in a PIM. And then those products that have been taken, that have been accepted by the supply team, by the purchase team, can be synced with your ERP to initiate initialize them in your ERP, and then move on with the enrichment process for various contexts, various channels within PIM again. So this bidirectional, multi-level connections are totally imaginable. It's just what works best for your organization, what makes most sense.
Okay, Darek, thanks for explanation of the PIM system. We will still have some time at the very end of the webinar to ask the question referring to PIM. And right now we will cover the second topic of the session. So how we could utilize the PIM data within the BIM channels, within the BIM content. Why we should do that? Why we should use the PIM data instead of storing the data manually within the BIM file. For this part, we will hand over the floor to Adam. Adam, the stage is yours.
Okay, so we have to start from that CAD is not enough anymore. At the moment, designers require, besides the geometry, also the information about the products. Very often in many regions connected with the classification that are required of the markets. So how to do it? Lee Oden says content is the reason search began in the first place. That's true. And if we know what users are looking for, why we don't give them what they need? According to the NBS National BIM report from 2017, 78% of designers believe that BIM is the future of the project information. And another report from National BIM report for manufacturers from 2016 says that 71% of designers says they need models provided by the manufacturers. So Adam, if manufacturers will... yes?
Sorry for interrupting, because I would like to refer to these statistics that you're talking about. So you said at the very beginning that great majority of the designers believe that the BIM is not at geometry. It's the future of product information, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. So at the moment, they need files which, besides the geometry, has also the technical information about the products. And in case manufacturers will not provide such data for them, they will try looking for them on another sites, in another manufacturers, and they might lose customers. So yeah, that are challenges for the manufacturers which they have to achieve. However, we know what designers require. They need files which are provided in their native languages. So, for example, for Poland in Polish, for Germany in German. They should support the product ranges which are available on the markets. For example, if doors, some doors family is available in the Netherlands in 5 variants and in France just in 3, then those files provided for that markets should have the correct information. In many countries, they were improved the so-called classifications. In the United States, Omni class, in Germany, A class, for Scandinavia, Co class, ATMMC in Netherlands, or Uniclass in the United Kingdom. Many other countries which don't have their own standards yet, they're working on it, like in Poland. So that's another challenge that manufacturers has to face with.
So does that mean that if I have a BIM file, let's say, right? I'm a manufacturer of you said doors, right? So let's keep it this way. So I'm a manufacturer of doors, and I would like to sell my doors in Benelux and or in Scandinavia, in the UK and Germany. Does that mean that I need to have a different set of attributes inside the BIM files?
Yeah, you should have actually you should have different BIM files for those regions in different languages with different sort of attributes, supporting the classifications which are required by their designers.
So if, let's say, imagine a manufacturer which would like to be present on, let's say, 20 countries, has something like, I don't know, 200, 300, 500 product families. Each of them has a different number of variants. Then if you multiply that by the number of languages classification system, is that maintainable?
Well, manufacturers should do it, but if they don't, the designers might choose another manufacturers who were able to achieve that. So preparing such files which are dedicated for those markets in native languages with supporting range and classifications give the manufacturers big advantage on the market. And however, how to achieve it without being buried in maintaining thousands of files? It's hard, but we know how to do it.
All right, it sounds very suspicious, but we're looking forward. So when it comes to combining the data, so from the PIM to the BIM, what are the benefits?
So how we can achieve it to get the edge on the market without maintaining thousands of files. So we have to combine product information management systems with BIM content management systems. If we combine those two systems, we are able to achieve what we need. So the first benefit is a single source of truth. So this is the central management central place where we are managing the data, and this is product information management. So this is our Akineo from our webinar. However, okay, we have one source of truth, one place where we store the data, but how to put them into the BIM files? If we do it manually, that it won't be single source of truth anymore because they will be spread. So we need to use BIM content management in that case and connect it to the PIM system. So PIM system will inform BIM content management system that the data has changed, and this system will automatically take those data from the PIM and put them into the BIM files in the way they are desired by the designers on the various markets. So then we will be able to support the geometry update by putting the data describing the geometry into these BIM files. We can support so-called level of information, so we can provide different sort of attributes for different users. For example, designers, architects, or marketers will require completely different sort of attributes.
Okay, Adam, sorry for interrupting, but we have quite a huge discussion on the chat. So maybe let's first answer the questions from the audience. And this is the question from Mr. Krzysztof Karsznia. I don't understand. We've got an English version that are standardized data according to ISO. Why do we need so many file versions, etc., etc.? Probably this is a question to you both, gentlemen, because probably both Darek can talk a bit about the contextualization of the data. Adam could tell a bit about different technical approvals or classification systems. But maybe, Darek, let's start with you. If you could, from the PIM perspective, specify why we can't just rely on the English version and the ISO standard only, in terms of the information.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think that for a person asking this question, I think it's quite clear that in general, when we are addressing, when we're operating on various markets and we're presenting our products on various markets, this is quite clear that we need to be, the absolute minimum of contextualization that you need to do is the geographical contextualization, which means let's translate it and let's do it properly. So I guess that's, from the PIM perspective, it's absolutely clear why you need to have some of the data, of course, because some is not localizable, right? So some data doesn't make sense to localize it. But much of the data we have, descriptions, certain marketing texts, some search engine optimization, for example. This is, I think, quite clear why we need to localize it, why we need to translate it.
Adam, what about the BIM topic in particular? So Mr. Karsznia suggested that it could be the case to address the English and the ISO. You said about the different regional requirements from the designers, probably some technical approvals, classification system. How would you refer to that?
Well, I would say that if we have English versions of BIM files, we are quite ahead. And we have quite a lot in that case. However, technology caused that people are getting lazy and comfortable. If designers on some markets, for example, France really like French language and they really like their native languages. And if they find the manufacturers who provide the BIM files, BIM content in their native language, they will probably choose that native files instead of those in English. That's why manufacturers should consider providing the data in native languages.
You also mentioned on your slide the topic of anonymization. Probably this is also something which can be somehow combined with the last question, right? So, and probably
yes, actually it's connected. Every point is connected with each other. So level of information is connected with multi-language and multi-channel and anonymization, because it's connected with providing a different portfolio of attributes on different markets, different countries in different languages. And anonymization is another kind of language which is dedicated for public
Tenders.
Public tenders, exactly, where there can be information about the manufacturer and the product itself. So, well, the manufacturer is the only one who know exactly how their products should be anonymized, and it's better for them that they will prepare such anonymized file that someone else will do it, or designers might choose completely different manufacturers who has provided such files instead of manufacturers which don't have them. So that's why manufacturers should compare BIM as wide as possible and provide as much data as possible, especially when with systems like product information management and BIM content management, it's quite easy to achieve.
So another question from the audience. The designers and contractor need different types of attributes in content. Does manufacturer need to have separate set of data for designers and contractors? And it's not the end, because one of the attendees also replied to this question, so I will also read the reply. So according to Mr. Siegmans, the designers and contractor can use the same files as long as all the data are available in the file. I think that this somehow refers to the LOI you mentioned before, isn't it?
Yes. Well, designers and generally users will use what they will find. So if there is just one version of that file in English with 100 attributes, they will have to use it and maybe adapt it to their needs by removing some sort of attributes. However, manufacturers, if are able to provide different BIM files with different level of information, they should do it, because if other manufacturers will do it before them, will edge on the market before that one. Another nice feature here is that in the future, we are working at the moment on such feature that designers and generally users will be able to select what kind of attributes they would like to have in the BIM files, and they will be generated on the fly.
So you mean that I'm opening the website, I don't need to have any Revit plugin or any other BIM plugin, and I can navigate to the website, select that I'm interested in eTeam or co-class or whatever, and I will fetch the data that contains only this specific set of information?
Yes, exactly. So, for example, manufacturers might provide BIM files in a different level of details and level of information. For example, 5 types of files on German market. However, none of this will be satisfying for the user. So he might open the diagram, select the attributes he needs, and the file will be generated on the fly for him.
We have another question before we move to the next slide.
I will just finish.
Oh,
I will
sorry.
just finish. The data, of course, are taken from the PIM side, right? So they are always up to date.
I see. So we have another question regarding the eTeam. Maybe before we ask this question, maybe you could explain a bit what the eTeam is, because I don't want to read this question if for all the audience it might not be clear what the eTeam is. Adam, could you explain a bit in details what is eTeam, why it was invented, and how does that refer to the BIM?
Well, eTeam is one of the classifications, BIM classification, that was created to provide standard dictionaries for products and for product attributes, and of course it's standardized and have translations in different languages. And of course, having such information is this is very good information, and it's quite enough.
And this is the question. So, is eating multi-language function okay for you? Probably. I'm not sure whether it's okay for us. It probably should be the question whether it's okay for the users of particular products. But maybe Adam, can you answer this question?
Yes, I think it's okay. eTeam has very good documentation and translations on many languages, so we can support almost I think all Europe with such data. And in case we are combining PIM with BIM content management system, we have easy way to update the BIM files in case there is a new eTeam version, because it's updated from time to time. So let's imagine that eTeam is in a new version. There is a bunch of new attributes which should be provided to the files. And if we have PIM connected with BIM content management, we can provide those data in single place in PIM, and then all the BIM files will be updated automatically.
Darek, you have a question for you. I think you can read it in loud and also refer to it.
Okay, yeah, that's. Oh, I haven't seen it, but actually that's what I wanted to add to Adam's answer. Okay, so any kind of classification, any kind of data modeling that we want for our purposes should be manageable with a flexible PIM and BIM solution to make sure that we can address those needs. And actually, those classifications and the way they are used on specific markets, this is what I mentioned as what I called the contextualization. So making sure that you have the flexibility for your data to be used in the right context for your right needs. So the most general answer is yes, and let's park it there.
All right, so I will also refer to the BIM, to the eTeam, because there are several questions regarding this classification standard. Because in addition to eTeam, we have some derived standard called eTeam-MC, and I would like to refer to that. And Adam, if you could also refer to it, you mentioned that the BIM content management systems are capable of taking the data out of the PIM, inject them automatically into the BIM file, and update this data so that they are always up to date. It's steered centrally. We can address this so-called omni-channel. So the question that I would like to refer is related with the geometry update, because in addition to eTeam, there is a standard called eTeam-MC that refers to geometry. And how does that refer to the BIM content management system? Can the standard geometry be controlled out of from the PIM side using some standard like eTeam-MC?
Yeah, so eTeam-MC is the extension of eTeam, and yes, it was covered to handle the geometry data and to have possibility to inject this data to generic master models. So let's imagine that we have a bunch of generic master models in low level of details, so with not enough details. So for example, radiator it will be just a cube without any custom details for manufacturers. And such master model we can use for several manufacturers. In case we have provided data in eTeam-MC, which contain information about geometry in some standardized way, then we can automatically combine those generic master models with those eTeam-MC data and prepare valid BIM files.
I will refer to what you just said, because you keep using the term master models. Could you elaborate what you mean by that?
to create BIM files, it's well, BIM files, for example, Revit files, right? And it has to be created somehow. At least the first version of that file, which contains just simple geometry without the data. The data we are injected into those master files later during the synchronization process. So the process of connecting the 3D objects with the product information.
Yeah. So another, I wouldn't say a question, more right, it's more like a statement. MC is still poor and all components are generic and do not always have all features for each manufacturer in the BIM model. BIM model can be replaced very easily with another make, which can seen either way, positive or negative. And it's also said that MC is only for a Revit. Adam, could you refer to that, whether the eTeamMC is sufficient? Are we somehow limited to eTeamMC when it comes to steering the geometry, and whether it can be only performed on Revit, or we can reutilize this information for other platforms as well?
It depends. At the moment, more of the BIM files is using in Revit. However, according to the injecting data, we can also improve it. We can also provide data in different systems like SolidWorks and Archicad. However, still we need some kind of first phase master models in this tools.
Okay, so
MC is poor at the moment, but well, we have to start from something, and I think it's going in the good direction.
I know that there is also this eTeam dynamic, which is constantly improving. So even though some version of the standard might not be sufficient for some particular product portfolio, I believe it's still going to be improved in the future. So as far as I know, the eTeam is still active quite extensively.
Okay. Yeah, and maybe last of the benefits, it's so-called omni-channel. It's about it's a term about connecting all kind of channels, so they are integrated and work together. They should cooperate. And when we have PIM connected with BIM, we create different sort of BIM files and provide them on different channels in different way.
So just a simple question, does that mean that thanks to BIM content management system, we are able to use the omni-channel which is provided by the PIM with the combination of the BIM file? So it's BIM content management is some sort of an extension for the PIM to make them BIM aware. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay, Adam, thanks for the explanation of the benefits of having the PIM data inside the BIM file. Maybe before we move forward, I will ask Darek one question: why we should, in general, store the data within the PIM system? Why can't we just store them directly in the BIM files?
Okay, so I guess the key term here would be integrity, data integrity. So when you think about having your data dispersed across various solutions and your need for managing this data in those silos, so to say, it may be even sometimes seen as something nice, very easy, flexible, because in my silo I can manage the data, but it's a very direct way towards losing data integrity. So at least for that single purpose, having holding data in one place for the purpose of data integrity is already a reason enough. Not to mention as I said, the collaborative nature of the data, so that various stakeholders, various systems need to participate in the workflow of data enrichment, and in the workflow whose very important aspect is the contextualization, of which we're saying so much today.
All right, thanks, Darek, for the insight. And right now we're actually moving to next part of the session, where our dear guest will present the actual flow from the Akinio PIM through the BIM content management software, which is a BIMStreamer, up to the BIM files. So the demo will present the data stored within the PIM and lands in the BIM file. Before we move on to the demo, maybe we will do a quick trailer, right? So as Darek mentioned once, this demo is more like an action movie with lots of turnover events. So maybe Darek, could you give us some intro from the PIM perspective, what we will show during the demo?
Sure, indulge us. We are experts in PIM and BIM, but definitely not in making movies. But the action movie that you will see in a moment is about creating some data set and completing the data set, making sure that it's ready for publication for the channel, for various channels, but in this particular demo for BIMStreamer. So what you will see is the user interface of the Akinio PIM. You will see some assets that can be added to products that we have in our catalog. You will see the user, one single user, in this case, in this demo, who notices that the products in question that we want to export, exchange with BIMStreamer, that those products are complete in English but are not complete in German. So we need to make sure that we work towards the full completion. You will see how this is achieved. And through this, you will see how the process being monitored is also closed and ready, and the products are ready for synchronization. I said that you will see one user because typically in an organization, there are more users than one. So there are usually users who are responsible for certain sets of attributes, for certain stages of the work on the product. It's easy to imagine. You can have some technical people, you can have some copywriters, you can have some photographers, etc. So various people are working towards the completion of the data. And at those various stages, the data may be validated by someone. So you get not only you get a good architecture of the content, but you also get a good architecture of the business process, flexibility to establish the business process. So that's more or less what you will see in the Akinio part. And then over to you, Adam.
Yeah, so BIMStreamer is the BIM content management system. So it's connecting the 3D objects with the product information data, which is stored in Akinio. The heart of the system is back office module, which collects the data and prepares the tasks for the external tool. It's external software which creates the BIM files. In this example, we used Revit, and the plugin which uses its functionalities to create necessary files. During the synchronization process, so the connection of the 3D objects with the data, plugin is using native Revit functionalities for injecting the attributes into the master Revit file in a dedicated language with dedicated geometry, and also generate many other files like DWG files, IFC, 2D draws, or 360-degree views, which you will be able to see in a minute on the video. When the synchronization process is finished, the new version of the BIM files has to be verified and accepted and published to the external channels where they are available for the designers, architects, and constructors. However, this is not part of that presentation, so maybe let's go to the movie.
Adam, before we go to the movie, I will ask you a few questions regarding to your statement. So first of all, you mentioned that the back office is actually taking the data from the PIM and inject them automatically. So I'm understanding that it can also steer not only the metadata of the object, but also its geometry, isn't it?
Yes.
All right. Then you mentioned, yeah.
And actually, it combining everything. We take also the assets, not only the data, but also the assets. PDF.
What do you mean by that? Oh, okay, PDF. Okay.
So it might be any kind of information.
So you also mentioned that we need a plugin. So does that mean that if I would like to, if I'm a manufacturer and would like to provide the BIM content to the designers, the designer needs to install the plugin?
No, it's just one of the channels, so where the data might be available. So some designers prefer to use the Revit plugins or any other plugins, and to download the BIM files directly in the tool they are using. And others would like to find the products they need on the manufacturer's websites.
So if I'm a designer and I would navigate to manufacturer website, I'm able to fetch the data containing a specific set of data without necessity of installing any software?
Yes, exactly. Actually, everything is just for the comfortness of the final user. So if the designer prefer use plugins, it's possible for him. If prefer to download the files from the website, they are available out there. Some others, maybe constructors, would like to have some information on their mobiles, and the information is available there as well.
Okay. Thanks for the explanation. I think that we can move to our action movie, and our first part will cover the Akinio. So Darek, the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you. So we're logging into Akinio PIM. On the dashboard, you can already see some reporting, some projects that are being performed by the team, some information about the processes that are being tracked. But let's focus on our case. So we've created a BIMStreamer with German and English locales. For this, we created a connection as a data destination for BIMStreamer. We have some assets that will be attached to the product. Those assets might be PDF files or some images or a YouTube video for that matter, which you will see later. You can navigate through your catalog with a couple of views. You can filter through the catalog, through the products that you have. There is a number of predefined filters that you can use, or you can actually define your own and save those filtered, those search, the results of your search. And here you can see the two products that we will be syncing. In English, they are already 100% complete, so you have this monitoring of the completeness. In German, they're not. So as you can see, we've got these two variants. These are two variants of one product model. The difference between them is that there are different heights and widths of those windows. As you can see in German and other channels that we have, the information was complete, but in BIMStreamer not. So it's actually a common attribute that we are editing now. This common attribute has been edited, so it should be complete once we see the view of our product. As you can see, it's 100% complete now, ready for the synchronization with the BIMStreamer as a channel. Again, as you can see, we have it established here as a data destination. So now some kind of a connector that uses either the file or the, maybe let me stop here for a second. So a kind of a connector that either uses a file or uses an API, a REST API, to consume the ready for publication data from a PIM, is actually importing it into or digesting it into BIMStreamer. So the floor is yours, Adam.
Okay, so our single, maybe I will play it. Our single source of truth has informed our BIM content management system about the change. So now we have to start the synchronization to update the BIM files. We can see that they are information in 2 languages, German and English. And now on the progress bar, we can see that there is 44 tasks prepared for that synchronization, most of them for Revit, for creation of the BIM files. And yeah, now the synchronization is finished. We can open the create the new versions. We can see that we have 2 versions, WinBC and WinBC2, as in PIM. And all those files you can see here and all the data are taken from our single source of truth, from the PIM. As the same as this PDF file you have already seen. Yeah, here you can see that the data has been divided in a few sections. And here we have a YouTube video which manufacturers would like to show the users. Now let's download the created RFA file. We have opened in Revit, and we can see that the data are also divided in sections here in Revit. And we can see that there is this is the window with the smaller window with 2,500 height. And this was version in English. And now we switch to German. The data on the web are in German, and we are downloading the Revit, where also there will be available attributes in German, like glass material, Gewicht, and Produktname. Yeah, now let's switch to the second product, the higher window. You can see that we can also generate the 2D views which are designed. So I mean dimensions. So we can have some numbers on the screen, and when we download DWG files, that the numbers there will be available as well. Now let's skip to the let's download another file. We will see them later. Now we will switch to Revit for 1 second, and we will place both BIM files on the wall to see the differences on the files. Well, windows are special BIM objects which Revit doesn't allow us to place on the wall or hang in the air. So we have to place them in the wall. That's why we have to draw a wall in our project. And let's place the windows. Yeah, the first one. Now we have to enlarge the wall, and in a second we will place the second window. And let's show it from the front. Yeah, we can see that the sizes are different and the attributes inside are also different. So we can steer the geometry and the attributes. And in the end, we can see the DWG files with different dimensions. That's all.
So Adam, a question though. So you mean that during the presentation, we not only created the BIM files out of the data from the Akinio, but we were also able to generate the DWG, so the CAD files, also including the dimensions. And these dimensions
Yes,
are actually the values which are taken from the PIM.
Yes, exactly. And actually we can automatically generate actually everything what can be done manually in Revit, SolidWorks, or ArchiCAD. and do it automatically. So you can imagine as everything what can be done manually can be done automatically.
And if Darek changes the dimensions within the PIM, we will update it in all possible language version, channels, regions, whether it's eTMMC, code class, whatever, whether it's English, whether it's German, whether it's Dutch.
Yeah, exactly. We can add another information for different classifications in PIM. We can add another language locales to support in Akineo. We can add another countries, more products, and we can create those BIM files automatically to not spread the information and do it manually.
Okay, so thanks for the demo. I think that we are now reaching the end of the webinars, and in the end, we still have some time to ask some questions to our guests. And right now, I see that someone is typing something. So maybe before we wait for the question, I will ask a quick question to maybe to you, Darek. So you mentioned that the PIM itself is for the collaboration. Who could be the users of the PIM? Of course, a part of the marketing, which you already mentioned.
Mm-hmm. So again, it's up to the organization. You take a look at your organization, you take a look at who is interested in product information, you take a look at who contributes to enriching the product information, and then you need to, in a flexible manner, reflect it in your PIM solution. So this could be your supply team, your purchase team, the people who are working with your suppliers, with the brands from which they are taking their products. There is usually a certain number of attributes that you can receive from your suppliers, and then you can curate for your further needs. So supply team, as I said, graphical team, which can be outside of your organization. They can also contribute by actually having access to your PIM, of course, with specific permissions to specific products, but they can be able to at least attach the files, add files to products that you have. So short answer would be depending on the organization needs. But the good thing with the PIM is that it's very easy to flexibly adjust the process once you are, for example, you're facing some new needs, you're facing some new channels. Your tool set for that needs to be capable of flexibly adjusting to the new situation.
Okay, thanks, Darek. We have several other questions. Maybe before we continue, I just wanted to inform that at the top bar, you see the link to registration for our next webinar, where we will actually it would be more like an interview with someone that is already using a BIM content management system for a really large set of data, because we're talking about managing over 30 countries with over 650 product families, something around 3,000 individual SKU, and something around 40,000 generated BIM and CAD content. And I would like to invite you for the webinar with Michał Lędziński, a BIM coordinator at Uponor, that will tell us about the challenges behind introducing a new BIM platform which manage and automatically up-to-date BIM content and CAD content directly from the PIM system. So if you're interested in the webinar, please click the registration button and we can get back to our Q&A session, and let's all answer the next question. If the window has the option for a different door handle, can this be changed in Revit file and or at product section? I think that, Adam, this is more like a topic related to configurators rather than the standard synchronization, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Actually, it depends what kind of information manufacturers would like to provide for the designers. However, yes, it's we can handle it in many ways. We can provide the window with many different door handles, which can be switched between inside the project. And in case manufacturers would like to provide light models for the designers, we can provide something we call a configurator. So on the page, on the web page, the designer can fill the form and select what kind of door handle he would like to have in this kind of window or door or whatever, and those files will be generated on the fly just with the door handle that was selected.
Okay, so in that, is that mean that let's say that I'm a manufacturer of a window, I have a different, let's say, because let's stay with the window. I know that the windows might have a different frames, different vents, let's say door handles, and if we calculate the number of combinations that the single product might have, we can end up in a large set of variation, isn't it? It could be pretty heavy.
Yes, it might be pretty heavy, and we know that when designers create the project of the building, they have thousands of elements, and providing heavy files might cause that well, the project will be too heavy and will not work with Revit smoothly. That's why it's a good way to provide light models which contains just the information desired by the designers.
Okay, I think that
if I may add something to it, those associations between products that then, because a handle can be treated as a product itself, it can be an accessory that then is added to windows, and those connections between a certain model of a window and a certain set of accessories, for that matter being the handles, right? This can also be controlled in a PIM solution for data consistency, for the consistency of this association across all the channels that we have, including, of course, BIMStreamer.
Okay, I think that we have.
That I will add just one thing. That's what the question about this door handles and windows. We call it in Revit. We call it nested families, and of course, BIM content management system is supporting such big families.
Okay, we have two last questions. If you have some other questions, please type them into the chat window, and we will answer them after the call, because we're already 7 minutes behind the time. So let's just answer the last two questions, and the rest we will let's say move on into more like a digital reply. So question from Mr. Armstrong. I'm totally new to BIM. I have invented a product that I sell to market. I wish to make the product details available to architects, designers, and consultants. Where do I start in terms of getting my production drawings onto a BIM system or my own website? I think that this is the standard question, whether we should go to BIM portals or we should host our own BIM library on our site. Adam, how would you refer to that?
Actually, it's good to be everywhere. As wide market you will cover, the better for you, because you never know where people will look for your products on the BIM portal or on your website. However, I'm not sure if this is the question where they should be stored, but how to start, how to create them, isn't it?
Designers, where do I start in terms of getting my production drawings onto a BIM system? Maybe you're right. Mr. Armstrong, could you confirm that it's a matter of how we should create the data, or where we should place them? And in the meantime, Mr. Ivansek asked us if we are able to show us the 2D drawing generated during the demo. I think that we will park that question and we will send the generated file directly to Mr. Iwancek so that he can have a look on that after the presentation. And when it comes to comment from Mr. Sigmas, yes, of course, if we are advertising on different external channels, yes, they might actually like to charge us for that, and in the long run we should specify which marketing channels we should use, but it works with any kind of marketing, whether we're using Google AdWords, BIM portals, or TV commercial. Everything needs to be somehow covered and most likely charged.
Yeah, I will add just one thing to this. One of manufacturers we are working with some time ago told me that designers usually start looking for the products on the manufacturer sites. So I think that's the mandatory for manufacturers to have their own library on their websites. And then later they can provide and spread those libraries through different BIM portals additionally.
Okay. And the last question, and this would be the really last question here. How do I create the data and what file types are supported? Here we're talking about Revit and the DWGs. So can I use different ones?
Yeah, so according to the BIM, the Revit is the really BIM file. DWG is CAD file. So as a BIM file, we consider files that besides the geometric contain also the product information. So when we saw on the presentation, when we opened the Revit, we have seen the window, but we could open also the properties and see the attributes of that window. With DWG, that's just the picture.
Okay, so it's more like it's not intelligent, isn't it?
Yes, it's not intelligent.
Okay, so long story short, if we're using the CAD file as an input, we are actually limited to the functionality that CAD offers. If we use BIM files like Revit, ArchiCAD, or any other kind of platforms, we are able to actually get more out of that. I think that we will cover this topic because we're already 13 minutes behind the schedule. Apology for this slight delay. I hope that it was informative from your perspective. Once again, I would like to invite you for the next webinar, which where we will cover the topic of managing the large set of data at Uponor, over 40,000 automatically generated files for over 30 countries. So if that's something that you find interesting, go ahead, click the register button, and I hope that we will be able to see you after the Christmas. Taking this occasion, I would like to thank you all for the participation, wish you first of all healthy and happy Christmas. And I would like to also thank not only the attendees, which were quite a lot. We were even surprised that you were so interested in attending our webinar, which satisfies us a lot. I would also like to thank our guests. Thank you, Darek. Thank you, Adam, for the very good lecture.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, and hope to see you in the next webinar from BIMStreamer.